The following Zoom session is being recorded and will appear later today on my YouTube channel, Math with Mayo. Therefore, when you participate in the Zoom meeting, if you do not wish for your picture or your name to be made public, please leave the video off and use an alias name. If you have questions during the meeting but do not wish to speak, email me at bmayo@ybcc.edu and I will respond as soon as I can. All right, so this morning, this morning I had some requests by email for some problems, and so I'm going to work those out. I just want to comment about it. When you send me an email asking me to do problems, it would be really helpful if you tell me what class you're in and what section the questions are from. I got an email that just said I couldn't do problem 14. So then I have to look up and research. And in fact, I couldn't figure out there was no 14 that the student was having trouble with. The more information you give me, the easier it is for me. Thank you. All right. Anyway, this is from section 2.2. And this is to start with problem number 5. The directions say multiply, simplify your answer completely. And we have the product of 50 and 4/5 x. 50 is the same thing as 50 over 1. So that 50 is in the numerator. We can now come back and reduce the 50 over the 5 to 10 over 1. And then multiplying straight across, we get 40x. Now it's 40x over 1, but really that's just 40x. So the final answer would be 40x. Okay. Same section, problem number 7, -5/7 h plus 25 equals 20. So we're going to isolate the variable term by subtracting 25 from both sides of the equation. We then get -5/7 h. The plus 25 and the minus 25 cancel. 20 minus 25 is -5. Now, we're trying to isolate the variable, so we need to get rid of its coefficient. When the coefficient of the variable is a fraction, you want to multiply by the reciprocal of that coefficient. So on the left side, -7/5 times -5/7 reduces down to 1. 1 times h is h. On the right side, -5 over 5 reduces to -1 over 1. Then we have -1 times -7, which is +7. So the final answer is 7. Number 11 coming up. Here we have an equation with multiple fractions. 1/28x minus 6/7 equals 3/4. So the first thing I'm going to do is clear the fractions. The least common denominator of 28, 7, and 4 is 28. So I'm going to multiply both sides of the equation by 28, or 28 over 1. Same thing. Okay, so distributing, we get 28 over 1 times 1 over 28 times x minus 28 over 1 times 6/7 equals 3/4 times 28 over 1. Going back and reducing each product, the 28's reduced to 1 over 1. 1 over 1 times 1 over 1 is 1, and 1 times x is x minus 28 over 7 is 4 over 1. So we have -4 times 6 over 1, which is -24 equals. And then over here, this is a multiplication dot, 28 over 4 is 7 over 1. 3 times 7 over 1 is 21. So we have this new equivalent equation without the fractions. Now we'll come in and add 24 to both sides. And we get x equals, add 24, excuse me, to both sides. We get x is 45. Okay. And finally, number 14 from that same section. So 2.2, number 14, it says 5 times the quantity 10 minus u all over 6 equals negative 5u plus 10. Now, you might think that the first thing you should do is to distribute the 5 on the left side of the equation to the parentheses 10 minus 4. But actually, we could get rid of that denominator first, and that might make life easier. So I'm going to multiply both sides of the equation by 6. That is the least common denominator. On the left side, the 6's will reduce down to 1 over 1. And I'm left with 5 times the quantity 10 minus u, which then becomes 50 minus 5u. On the right side of the equation, distributing the 6, I get negative 30u plus 60, which still becomes negative 30u plus 60. Okay, so now I've simplified both sides, cleared the fraction, etc. I'm going to go ahead and put u on the left side of the equation. So I'm going to add 30u to both sides of the equation. I get 50 plus 25u equals 60. Then I'm going to subtract 50 from both sides of the equation. I get 25u equals 10. Then divide by 25, so u equals 10 over 25, but I could reduce by taking out a 5 on top and a 5 on the bottom, and I get u equals 2/5. Now, as we talked about yesterday, you could write that as 0.4 as well as a decimal, but it's not required. Okay, so that takes care of the problems that were requested from me or for me or whatever, other than the one I'm not sure about. Are there any questions from those of you that are here this morning before we go on to the next section? If so, now is the time.
No, I'm good.
Okay, we shall proceed then with section 2.3. If you recently took Math 75, there was an entire chapter devoted to percents or percentages. We're basically going to spend a day in section 2.3 kind of reviewing, dealing with percents or percentages like you would have done in Math 75. All right. First of all, we're going to take a percent, 35%, and change it into a decimal. Percent is the same as per 100. In fact, if you look at a percent sign, it's just a 100 that's been rearranged. Okay. Anyway, so 35% is equal to 35 per 100. Right now, the implied decimal point is right there. Dividing by 100 would move it 2 places to the left. So 35% becomes 0.35 or 35 hundredths. Now, you don't have to write this intermediate step, but I'm just showing that to remind you or to show you how that works. How about this? 8.5%, changing it to a decimal number would be 8.5 per 100. Well, dividing by 100 moves the decimal point 2 places to the left. Okay. How about this one? 2 3/4%. Well, that would be what? 11/4%, changing the mixed number to an improper fraction. Remember, 4 times 2 is 8 plus 3 is 11 all over 4. But that would be equal to 11/4 per 100. But that's 11/4 divided by 100, or 11/4 times 1 over 100, or 11 over 400. What a long way to go, right? Okay. Now, the problem is we were supposed to write it as a decimal. So to write that as a decimal, what would I have to do? I'd have to go 11 divided by 400. Okay. Let's see, that would be a 0, that would be a 0, that would be a, what, a 2. That's an 8. And that's going to be a 7. And that's going to be a 5. Wow, so 0.0275. There must be an easier way. There is. So let's go back and look at that again. If we take 2 3/4%, that would be 2.75% because 3/4 is 0.75. So 2.75% is equal to 2.75 per 100, but dividing by 100 moves the decimal point 2 places to the left, and we get the same answer, but less work. Now let's go the other direction. Let's take a number and change it to a percent. If you have a regular number and you want to change it to a percent, multiply it by 100%. After all, 100% equals 1 of something, right? The whole thing. So you can multiply by 1, therefore you can multiply by 100%. Well, the 100 would move the decimal point 2 places to the right, so we would get 90% because we still have the percent sign. Or how about 0.99? Changing that to a percent, we'd multiply by 100%, which would move the decimal point over 2 places and still have a percent sign. 9 changed into a percent would be 900%. Any questions about that before we go on? All righty. Let's take a look at some statements that we can translate into equations and then solve. It says, what number is 48% of 650? What number would be the variable, the unknown, is translates into an equal sign. 48%, changing it to a decimal number, would be 0.48 of 650 would be times 650. So by using the parentheses, that implies 0.48 times 650. Okay, so I've got what number is 0.48 times 650? Oh, let's see, 650 times 0.48 is 312. So what number is 48% of 650? 312. Any questions on that problem? Okay.
No,
Yes.
no, I understand it. It's okay. I was just saying no.
Okay. This says 75 is 25% of what number? So 75 equals 0.25 times the unknown. Again, 75 is 75 becomes equals 25% changed to a decimal number is 0.25. Of means times, and of what number times the unknown. Okay. So 75 equals 0.25x. To solve for x, we would divide both sides by 0.25. So if I take 75 divided by 0.25, I get 300. So 75 is 25% of 300. Any questions there? Okay. And here we have 78 is what percent of 300? So 78 equals x times 300. What percent is the unknown? Of is this times, and 300 is 300. So 78 equals 300 times x, because I want to put the coefficient in front of the variable. Divide both sides by 300. And let's see what we get. 78 divided by 300 is 0.26. Now, x is 0.26, but that's not a percent. So I need to change that into a percent, like we did earlier, multiply by 100%, we get 26%. Notice in these first two problems, here we took a percent and wrote it as a decimal in the actual equation. Here we took a percent and wrote it as a decimal in the actual equation. So here, X ends up being a decimal, but we have to change it back into a percent for the, yeah, anyway, to get it back into the original form. All right, any questions on those?
Nope.
All righty, excellent. We're going to go on and look at some application problems, which is a sneaky way of saying story problems. Okay, let's see here. Okay. There's a picture that you can't see, but I'm going to give you the information that you need. It says the circle graph, so there's a picture of a circle graph, shows how the government spent $2,980 billion. Okay. So they spent that much in 2008. How much was spent on Social Security / Medicare? And what we know is that that was 37%, okay, of the total budget. So basically the question is, what is 37% of $2,980 billion? Now, this is kind of confusing. This is a way of writing that. In other words, this would be 980 billion. Why they don't just write it as $2.98 trillion, I don't know. But anyway, we'll live with it. So what is 37% changed to a decimal, 0.37, times 2,980 billion? Now, my original problem is written using the word billions. So my answer is also going to be written in terms of billions. So I'm going to take 0.37 times 2,980, and I get 1102.6, and that's billion dollars. Don't forget the units. Sometimes in WebAssign, the answer already provides the units, and other times it doesn't, so be careful. Check the units. All right. Any questions about that problem? Okay. This says many e-commerce businesses use PayPal to perform payment processing for them. For certain transactions, merchants are charged a fee of 2.9% of the selling price of the item plus 30%. Or no, not 30%, 30 cents. So 2.9% of selling price plus 30 cents. Okay. What would PayPal charge an online art store to collect payment on a painting that sells for $350? Okay. So they're going to charge 2.9% of the selling price plus 30 cents. So the original question is, what is 2.9% of $350? Okay. So X is, okay, we're going to go at 0.029, moving the decimal point over 2 places, of is times 350. Okay. So now I'm going to take 0.029. It helps if you turn the calculator on first. 0.029 times 350. And I'm getting 1015. But I need to add an additional 30 cents, right? So $10.45 would be the final charge from PayPal. When you're doing a problem like this, don't forget that there's that second piece of the problem, because you get wrapped up in all the calculations and you might forget that. Let's see here. Oh, it says, through an extensive computer search, a genealogist determined that worldwide, 180 out of every 10 million people had his last name, the person doing the search. What percent is this? So 180 out of 10 million is what percent? So basically, I'm converting that fraction, 180 out of 10 million, into a percent, okay? So I'm going to multiply it by 100%. And I'm going to write it as 100% over 1, okay? Now, I could reduce this down in the following way. I could divide the top by 10 and the bottom by 10. I could divide the top by 10 and the bottom by 10. I could divide the top by 10 and the bottom by 10. And now what do I have? I have 18 over 10,000%, okay? But how would I convert 18 10,000ths into a decimal? Well, I can do it on my calculator, but I want to remind you how things work. So dividing by 10, you'd move it one place, 100 2 places, let's see, 1,000 3 places, 10,000 4 places. So 1 2 3 4. So 0.0018%, which is what? So 18 10,000ths of the population had the same last name as this person. Okay. Any questions about that problem? A little tricky there with those big numbers. Let's see here. It says childcare. After the first day of registration, 84 children had been enrolled in a daycare center. That represented 70% of the available slots. Find the maximum number of children the center could enroll. So again, after the first day of registration, 84 children had been enrolled. So 84 children, enrolled, okay? That represented, what's that? That's the 84 children. That represented, so it equaled 70% of the available slots. So 84 is 0.70 times the unknown available slots. Okay. Now, you could write 70% as 0.70. You could also write it as 0.7. Either way works. Okay. So now I'm going to divide both sides by 0.70. And I've got 84 divided by 0.70. And I get 120. So 120 slots is the total enrollment available. Okay. Let's see here. Let's see. Okay. It says room taxes. A guest at the San Antonio Hilton Airport Hotel paid $180 for a room, plus a 9% city room tax, a 1 3/4% county room tax, and a 6% state room tax. Find the total amount of tax that the guest paid on the room. So you've got the price of the room, $180. You've got, let's see, tax. You've got 9% and 1 3/4% and 6%. And all of those are a percent of this original room price, okay? So we need to find, let's see, what did it say? The total amount of tax, all right? Well, since these are all a percent of this amount, couldn't we add these together? We'd get 9, 10, 16 and 3/4%, okay? Which is also 16.75%, because 3/4 is 0.75. So our question becomes, that's a lovely looking W, what is 16.75% of $180? Okay. All right. So what is 0.1675 times, sorry, my phone is buzzing and I'm trying to ignore it. What is 0.1675 times 180? All right, they finally gave up. Probably calling me to tell me they're canceling the appointment because of the snow. Oh, well, no one cares. All right, let's take 0.1675 times $180, and we get $30.15, which would be the amount of the tax. What if it asked for the total price of the room? Then you would take the 180 plus the $30.15, and you'd get $210.15. Okay. Let's see here. How are we doing for time? We got lots of time. Just scores. Okay. It says test scores. The score 175 over 200 was written by an algebra instructor at the top of a student's test paper. Write the test score as a percent. So 175 over 200. We have a number. We want to convert it to a percent. So we'll multiply it by 100%. Well, I could reduce the 100 over 200 to 1 over 2. And now I have 175 over 2%. And if I take 175 divided by 2, I get 87.5%. So the student got 87.5% on their test paper, which in my class would be a B+. All right. Let's see here. All right, this says TV shopping. Jan bought a toy from the QVC Home Shopping Network that was discounted 20%. If she saved $15, what was the original price of the toy? All right, it was discounted 20%, so that would be the amount she saved, the percent she saved, and she saved $15. So the 20% equals the $15, right? They're the same thing. One's as a percent, one's as actual dollars, okay? So you could say this, $15 is 20% of what original price? Price of the toy, okay? So you'd have $15 equals 0.20 or 0.2 times the original price, which is the unknown. Solving for X, we're going to take 15 divided by 0.20, and we get 75. And the units for this would be dollars. So $75 was the original price. Let's see. Okay. This says insurance costs. A college student's good grades earned her a student discount on her car insurance premium. Find the percent of decrease to the nearest percent if her annual premium was lowered from $1,050 to $925. Okay, now we need to be careful. Okay, we want to know what percent it was lowered, right? Okay, so the percent equals how much was it lowered by? Oh, we need to take this minus that. Okay, so that's going to be what, $125. So the amount it was lowered was $125. So $125 is what percent of the original $1,050. Okay, so we're using the 925, but only to subtract, because we want to know the discount, not the amount after the discount. Okay, so $125 is the discount. That represents what percent of 1,050. So I get 125 is X times 1,050. Okay, or 125 equals 1,050 times X. So we'll divide both sides by $1,050. And let's see, dollars divided by dollars, the units cancel out or reduce out. 125 divided by 1,050. Let's see here. Reason I'm balking here is because I'm getting a number that's not nice. So let me check my calculations here. Hang on. 1050 minus 925 is 125. 125 divided by 1050. Hang on a second here. I'm getting an answer that's like 11.9. And so I'm wondering if they want us to round off, but I don't see that in the directions. Well, approximately 12%. Oh, okay. Here I see in the previous question, it said round to the nearest percent, but it didn't say it in this question. So I don't know. But again, I guess the lesson there is in WebAssign, read carefully. It may tell you to round off to the nearest percent or the nearest tenth or something, but don't just skim through the problem and crank it out and go, oh, I'm done. And then you get it wrong because you didn't catch a little detail about rounding or not. Okay. This says real estate. A 3.5% commission paid to a real estate agent on the sale of a condominium earned her $3,325. Find the selling price. So the commission was equal to $3,325. Okay. What is the selling price? The commission was $3,325. So you could say $3,325 is 3.5% of what selling price. So 3,325 equals, now 3.5% would be 3.5%. We'd move the decimal point over 2 places. So this would become 0.035 of times the unknown selling price. Okay. So we'll divide both sides by 0.035. And let's see here. 3,325 divided by 0.035 And I get 95000. So the selling price, $95,000. Boy, today's housing prices, you'd probably just get an outhouse for that price. Okay. Well, I think I've tortured you enough for one day. So I will be back at 1:15 this afternoon with an office hour. If you have to go out somewhere today, I would say be careful, stay safe, or better yet, don't go. And I'm going to stop the recording.